On August 31st, 1983, in Tokyo, Japan, Terry Funk announced his retirement from professional wrestling for the first of many, many times. On this night, he and his brother Dory Funk Jr. competed in an All-Japan ring against Stan Hansen and Terry Gordy in what he intended to be his final match. To put this in some kind of context, in the same year Return of the Jedi was the highest grossing film. Thriller by Michael Jackson was the top album of that year. And 1 week after Funk retired, Braun Strowman was born. Despite this retirement match, Funk would continue to control his narrative for the next 34 years. Terry's first documented match was in 1965, so he'd been going for 18 years at that point. But with no more matches in the future looking likely due to his health, his eventual last match would occur in 2017, making his career 52 years long. The best source I could find lists 7 official retirement matches, not including his actual last match, as it wasn't advertised as such. This also doesn't include the many times Funk would cut a promo announcing he would be stepping away, but not mention retirement. One such being at WWE's Fully Loaded 1998, where he announced before his tag team match with partner Blackjack Bradshaw that he would be stepping away, apparently not informing Bradshaw ahead of time, who was angered and turned on Funk as a result. Retirement number 1 would occur in All Japan in 1983, but would last about 14 months, as he would then again team with Dory, this time going to a double DQ with the Road Warriors for the AWA Tag Team titles. Number 2 would happen at NWA's Clash of the Champions 9 event in November 1989. This match was an I Quit match against Flair, in a match rated 5 stars by the Wrestling Observer. This match came about after Funk served as a judge for one of Ric Flair's title matches against Ricky Steamboat. Following the match, Funk would attack Flair and deliver a piledriver through the announce table. Funk apparently didn't agree to this being a retirement match stipulation, and thus didn't honour it. He would return to action 10 months later in an independent match against Jerry Lawler that would go to a non-contest. Number 3 would take place in September of 1997, at an independent event named 50 Years of Funk, in his famed hometown of Amarillo, Texas. This event featured talent from many various promotions, held together by the respect Terry had earned throughout his time in the business. In the main event, Bret Hart, who was the WWE Champion at the time, defeated Terry Funk in a 4-star rated match. The only reason I mention that is the last one was 5 stars, if you're keeping track of that kind of thing. The card featured many WWF and ECW stars, notably Mankind defeating ECW's Sabu, and Dory Funk Jr. defeating Rob Van Dam. Post Terry's match, he stated that this would be the last time he would perform in his hometown of Amarillo. But not even this would be true, as in 2000 he would wrestle Lance Storm in the same city on a WCW house show. Retirement number 3 would last just 11 days, as Funk would go on tour with FMW in Japan, and return to WWE by the end of the year. Funk had a decent run in WWE, first teaming with Cactus Jack as Chainsaw Charlie, then later teaming with Bradshaw, as mentioned earlier. It's worth noting that between 89 and 97, Funk would build his reputation as a deathmatch wrestler. He was known for hardcore brawls before this, but these years included the FMW matches with a young Cactus Jack, as well as his famed ECW tenure, where he became world champion after bleeding buckets in a match with Raven. Not to mention, this time period also included the famous exploding barbed wire death match with Onita in May of 1993, the clear inspiration for the Kenny Omega vs Jon Moxley match in 2021. As crazy as this is to say, Funk probably did the most damage to his body in these years than any other point in his career. Following a brief return to ECW in '98, Terry's 4th retirement would occur in June of 1999. in an event called AWF One Last Dance. His opponent on this night would be Sabu, and Funk won the match. By November, Terry would be back in the ring, this time teaming with Dory for the FMW 10th anniversary event. Terry would return to WCW in January of 2000, originally in an authority figure role, but after a terrible talking segment with the 2000 version of the NWO, the worst kind of NWO, he would be back in the ring by the end of the month, losing his commissionership to Kevin Nash. From here, Funk would become a key player in WCW's dwindling hardcore division, for a few months at least. His fifth retirement would occur in 2005, where he and Dory would lose at an independent show to the NWA Tag Team Champions at the time, America's Most Wanted. Dory is featured in a few matches I've mentioned so far, so I'll take this time to mention that he wrestled over 3,000 documented matches in his career. Starting in 1963 and ending in 2018, his career lasted 3 years longer than Terry's. This retirement would last 4 and a bit months, as he would return to face Sabu and Shane Douglas at Hardcore Homecoming, an ECW tribute event promoted by Shane Douglas to counter WWE's One Night Stand pay-per-view. This was a barbed wire match, no less. Now we get to retirement number 6, as Funk would lose to Tommy Dreamer at AWE's Night of the Legends pay-per-view in 2011. Gone are the days of Terry Funk retirement matches being the main event. This one was third on the card, which was main evented by Ricky Morton defeating Kevin Nash, which sounds like an odd pairing. Terry would return to action 2 years later, teaming with Dory in All Japan. Are you noticing a pattern here yet? Retirement match number 7 occurred in 2015, and was a loss against Jerry Lawler, on a show held in tribute to legendary Memphis commentator Lance Russell. The only other notable names on this card were the Rock and Roll Express, and the rest of the card looks like it was built using the NXT name generator. Funk might have been in the main event, but these events were getting smaller by this point. Terry Funk's final match ended up being a 6-man tag in 2017, with him teaming up with the Rock and Roll Express to defeat Jerry Lawler, Brian Christopher and Doug Gilbert, the brother of Southern legend Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. It wasn't officially billed as a retirement match, so it's not technically part of the list, but it is very likely the end of Terry Funk's legendary in-ring career. Despite the slightly trivial tone of this video so far, I want to end with a moment to show respect and wish nothing but the best to a true icon of US and Japanese wrestling. Thank you for watching yet another wrestling channel. If you enjoyed this, why not comment with some memories of Terry Funk? Or leave me a like or a subscribe.